Welcome to Put Up Your Daisy Dukes, a women's self-defense podcast. Today we have the opportunity to hear from David Crane, who is an internationally certified Krav Maga instructor. He also has 3 black belts and is trained in 7 different styles of martial arts. He's currently a federal law enforcement officer and has previously served in the Royal Newfoundland Regiment of the Canadian Army Reserves. Not only that, he's had numerous trainings such as close protection, armed and unarmed, control tactics and survival skills, pressure point control tactics, and verbal judo to help with communication and de-escalating situations. If you are interested in learning today, we will talk about self-defense, what it is, why it's important, the difference between self-defense and martial arts, how to stay aware of your surroundings and know what's going on around you, and the difference between the left of bang, being ready for things, and the right of bang, just responding to things. Stay tuned. At the end, we'll share a little bit about the book that David has written and will be published shortly, called The Warrior Within, a self-defense guide to practical modern self-defense. And we hope that you enjoy this session today. Well, thank you for joining me today, Dave. Some of the things that I keep thinking in my mind, I think that self-defense for women specifically, but people in general, is very important because from what I can tell, there's a lot of like an increased violence happening. We can maybe talk a little bit about that, but I know that with your expertise and your background, it's just really important for people to know maybe some things like the difference between self-defense and martial arts, or what self-defense really means, because there's a psychological aspect of it as well, right? And so going on YouTube or TikTok or some of these social media things to learn self-defense techniques, and all you see are jujitsu training techniques. I've had a lot of martial arts training in my life, and I don't think I would be able to remember those in different situations. And so I think it's a valuable conversation to have.
Well, good morning, Brandy. And
Yeah.
you hit some excellent points there. When you do go on YouTube, you do see a lot of jujitsu and other techniques, and they're labeling them as self-defense, but they're not really applicable for self-defense. Like even like martial arts is great. I've done many martial arts over the years, so like I've known you got a taekwondo and martial art background. I was doing a seminar back in Newfoundland, probably I don't know, 10 years ago maybe. And we ran it at my old judo club down there, and then we had people with Filipino martial arts. And so it was a mix of everybody, and there were civilians there. So I was doing a knife attack, and they came in and done a knife attack, and the guy done a traditional block stroke. It was perfect, perfectly executed martial art block. But in reality, people get stabbed 40 and 50 times. So I said, okay, that was perfect. So now I'd done multiple attacks, and he ended up blocking, got overwhelmed, fell on the ground, and I kept stabbing him. I said, you never blocked it.
So fast.
Sometimes when you see it happening, and it could be a fight at 3-on-1 or 2-on-1, it's less than a minute. So by time you realize what's happening and go to react, the fight is over.
It's done. Would you say then that it's safe to say that your experience with martial arts is a little bit different than your experience in kind of combat and self-defense type stuff? Because I feel like people think that they have to be a martial artist to be able to protect themselves. And I kind of think that even if you are trying to protect yourself, most people wouldn't even know how to throw a punch properly.
And you're right. So I love martial arts. I will always train martial arts, and martial arts got good refinement, and it do give you, it builds you up with self-esteem and confidence.
Yeah.
When it comes to strength and strength, and it gives you the fitness, and it got a lot of good points. But when it comes to stress and self-defense, there's a gap. So martial art works more on refinement, fine motor skills. If you go to combative martial art where you go to a ring fighting or a tournament, you're based on a time and you're stressed, but you're not up to the 200
Right.
heart per
You're
minute.
kind of training to plan for it. So you know what your heart rate's going to be. You know that
Sure.
your opponent is going to throw punches. You kind of know what to expect a little bit in a ring situation, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tactics, like, you're in and out, 1-2 camos, you're this and
Mhm.
that, and you're in a controlled environment.
Your stances, sometimes stances don't even change.
No. And then depending on the martial arts, like you could touch the person and get a point, or you try go for a knockout. But a lot of it's just like contact, and it's a point system versus
Mhm.
the a true self-defense system. So there's a gap here because a lot of self-defense systems take martial arts techniques and try to blend them over, but that doesn't work.
Yeah, so we've talked a little bit about the difference between self-defense and martial arts. And maybe you can talk a little bit about the importance of understanding self-defense. I kind of feel like sometimes, even though to me it's really important to know how to defend myself and be a confident person while I'm out, especially by myself, I think it's a lost art sometimes, and people don't really see the value of it. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the value of knowing a little bit of self-defense and what that entails and why.
So self-defense, we talked about the martial arts earlier about self-esteem, confidence, all those aspects. Knowing self-defense is, for me, there's multiple levels of self-defense. So when we think about self-defense, we think about physical contact. When
Hmm.
we think about martial arts, we think about physical contact. We live in a world of zombies. We're
Hmm.
unaware of our situation. We're unaware of what's happening around us. We're overloaded with social media, with the news, what's happening. We don't know what's real, what's not. Everything's opinionated.
People
You're
walk around with iPods in their ears wherever they
right.
go. Yeah.
It's like if you ever see a greyhound or a horse on a horse track, they got the blinds on,
Hmm.
and that's us in modern day society.
Yeah.
So And so in self-defense, we need to start seeing all around us. So we need to start using our senses. And martial arts doesn't really teach that.
Hmm.
And in our system of Krav Maga, we want to elaborate on that. So for me, there's almost 4 to 5 pillars of self-defense.
Hmm.
So we got awareness. And some self-defense systems talk about the 3 foot rule, the proxemics around you. I'm not sure if you ever heard of that. Like you got to keep people away, 1 meter, 3 feet. That's your safety zone.
Hmm.
That's unrealistic.
Hmm.
In modern day time, it's unrealistic. If you're walking down the sidewalk, how can you keep people away 3 feet?
Right.
If you're ideally, you don't want to be walking next to a parked car. But if 4 or 5 of you guys, people are out, you're walking down the sidewalk, it's a lot of it's unrealistic. There's a concept out there called left of bang. So we always function in a room right of bang, meaning there's an action and we react.
Mm.
But we need to be on the left of bang where we recognize this the action before it's happening.
Mm.
If you see a possible um, if you see a possibility of an incident, well, you're going to put mitigation factors in place so that do not happen. So you're creating awareness. So we want to be on the left of bang the whole time
Mm.
versus reactive on the right of bang. And then we got, now this is going to coexist. We got verbal. So at some point, depending on the escalation, we could de-escalate. So we got to use our communication skills.
Mm.
So if we, from awareness, we can always disconnect. But sometimes it's there, or our awareness factor failed and we're confronted. So if the person's rationale is high, then we can de-escalate the situation. We use our verbal, we use our body language, non-threatening, and we can de-escalate. If their emotions are high, then it's going to be much harder to de-escalate
Hmm.
because the rationale is low. So
Hmm.
we're in a zone now. So we got to make a decision. So then we go to a pre-stress. So once we're starting to get confronted, our heart rate raises.
Hmm.
So then we start moving out of the fine motor skill, which this is where the martial arts operate.
Right.
And so once our heart rate starts reaching 115 beats a minute, start increasing, we lose fine motor skills.
So that's
So
kind of outside of the martial arts range then, you're
it
saying?
is, it
Hmm.
is. Now, martial arts do start moving into that, like in a tournament, you're going to be nervous, but they want
Yeah.
to keep the
Heart
gross
rate
motor skill
down.
down, the heart rate down.
Hmm.
So your heart rate's going to start coming up.
Because
And you're
it's,
going to have,
yeah, because you don't know what's going to happen. So it probably increases your anxiety and increases your heart rate and
and it happens like that.
tension. Yeah. Okay.
So we want to be able to control that
Hmm.
and to the best point. So at 115 beats a minute, you have trouble tying your shoes. But in the optimal training, the optimal zone is between 115 and 145. That's when you're zoned in.
Hmm.
However, you start losing your motor skills. And then, but in reality, if you're in a high stress situation or a physical confrontation, you're going beyond that. So your complex motor skills start, your fine, your complex motor skills start going.
Hmm.
Your audio, your hearing,
Yeah.
you become tunnel vision. So people they talk about well, you've done self-defense before, they put up their hand, stop, back away. But if someone's attacking you, we've been in situations where you're in a high stress situation and you're yelling out commands, but nothing's coming out.
Hmm. So I think that they're actually saying, stop, I'm not interested in fighting, but it's nothing. They
Nothing.
actually aren't articulating it.
Because
Hmm.
you're at that, you're thinking you were, but it's almost like the teacher and Charlie Brown, which no one can understand. Like, and your audio goes.
Hmm.
So, like, there's been incidents where law enforcement going in there and they're shouting commands at this person with a weapon, and then they end up shooting them. But the person is such in a zone, their audio they can't hear.
Didn't hear it.
And you're the same way. So this is how we operate. We start shutting down different areas.
Hmm.
So when you're in a high stress situation, shouting commands is useless to you.
Hmm.
So once we go to those zones, so it's the stress management, and this is where combat, military breathing, box breathing comes in to help bring your heart rate down.
Hmm.
Then we go into a physical. Now, in physical, we have the different zones. Is it going to be their inner space? Is it going to be a soft technique like a push, release, or do it go to a hard attack?
Right.
Once it goes beyond a level, you literally you got I give my students 3 seconds, 7 to 10 meaningful strikes, and you need to break that person so they
Right.
can come after you.
So make it
Uh,
worth your time and make sure that they're going to
Make
go
it work
down
your time.
so that you can
Yes.
get out of there. But it
You get
has to
out of
happen really quick, or else it's not going to happen at all because the other person, their intent is to harm, and maybe they are on drugs or alcohol or something like that is in their system. So,
and that we
yeah,
don't know. Well, you could probably tell because they're but you're
right.
right. We got limited time to do what we got to do and get out safely.
Yeah.